talk about the Crusades for a minute. Jerusalem was called the Holy Land. It was holy for three different religions. The Christians, they believed it was where Jesus was crucified and resurrected. The Jews saw it as Zion, that's their name for it, God's own city, the site of Solomon's temple. They lived there for over 1,000 years, and it was very, very important to them. For the Muslims, it was, let's hide these, it was the third holiest city where Muhammad had ascended to heaven. Muhammad is the Prophet Muhammad, the founder of Islam. The Crusades began with Pope Urban's call. He called on all Europeans to expel the Muslims from our Christian lands. Christ commands it. The word Crusades comes from the Latin word crux, meaning cross. Crusaders were called to take up the cross to recover holy lands from Muslim control. This was sort of an analogy to how in Christian faith Jesus took the cross as the burden of mankind and carried it as an act of self-sacrifice. The Crusades were a series of 9 military expeditions. So why would people go on crusades? For knights, it was a chance to use their skills and get adventure. Also possibly earn wealth or instant salvation if they were killed. By instant salvation, they mean going to heaven. The Pope promised everyone who died in the Crusades that they would immediately go to heaven, no matter what they had done before in their life. For peasants, it was a chance for freedom from feudal bonds. Imagine you are a peasant. You're living in the Middle Ages. You're farming for a lord who takes almost all of the food and leaves you with barely anything. It's a very abusive relationship. You would take most chances to get free of it. Why did the Pope want a crusade? It was a chance to increase the power of Europe, both the Pope's power because he's organizing these huge wars, and the power of Europe as a whole because they're taking land. He wanted to heal the split between the Roman Catholic Church and the Byzantine/Greek Orthodox Church. These two churches had split in the 500s, and he saw this as a chance to bring them both back under the Catholic Church, under his authority. He also saw land in the Middle East as a good place for Europe's growing population. The First Crusade. This happens in 1096 through 1099. Crusaders meet in Constantinople. They come from all over Europe. And on their way there, they had massacred Jewish people. Back in the Middle Ages in Europe, Jewish people were blamed for almost everything, from theft to the plague to general depression. If it was something bad and you didn't know the cause and you were a European in the Middle Ages, you probably thought it was because a Jewish person did it. So if they came across a city with a large Jewish population, it was very likely that they would kill all of them. They'd also come across small pockets of Islamic people or Muslims on their way and done the same thing. Some crusaders stayed in the Middle East after the crusade, and they created the country of Palestine. The Second Crusade, I should note, this Palestine is a different Palestine. They're connected, but the Palestine that exists today is Muslim, and this Palestine is Christian. The Second Crusade, 1147 through 1149. The Seljuk Turks, a group of Muslims, an empire, take part of the Crusader states in Palestine. The Crusaders launch another crusade to try to take it back. These European Crusaders fail and return to Europe defeated. The Third Crusade, two of the most famous people from the Crusades, King Richard the Lionheart of England and Emperor Saladin or Salahaddin from the Middle East, are involved in this. The Third Crusade takes place from 1189 through 1192. Saladin, he unites the Muslims and took Jerusalem in 1187. Remember, the Christians took Jerusalem initially in the First Crusade. This is 2 crusades later, and the Muslims are just now getting it back. The Europeans, led by King Richard the Lionheart of England, wage a war to try to regain Jerusalem. But Saladin or Salahaddin creates a truce where he agrees to keep the city but allow Christian pilgrims to access it. The Fourth Crusade. This occurs in 1204. The Crusaders, who initially were trying to go recapture Jerusalem, uh, decided not to go to Jerusalem. That's a lot of hassle. Instead, they attacked the Christian city of Constantinople. Think about this. Why are Christians attacking a Christian city? What does that say about their motivation? The Fourth Crusade is just a picture of the Fourth Crusade right here. This is supposedly the city of Constantinople. It's famously on the ocean, and it was famously well defended. The effects of the Crusades as a whole. So feudalism breaks down. Kings gain authority over the Pope and nobles. So these kings had to rally all their nobles and peasants to their side so they could actually go on these crusades. But that power and authority they'd gained over them to launch their crusades doesn't go away when they return home. They keep it for a long time. That means that these nobles who used to have almost complete control over their fiefs no longer do. They answer directly to the king, and the king can tell them what exactly he wants them to do. It creates bitterness among Muslims, Christians, and Jews for obvious reasons. They've been killing each other for 200 years. They're not going to get along well afterwards. And a lot of the conflict between Christians and Muslims today can be traced back to the Crusades. The Byzantine Empire weakens. Remember, that it was the Byzantine Empire that asked to start the Crusades in the first place. The Byzantine Empire was what remained of Eastern Rome. They had been threatened by Islamic empires since there was an Islamic empire. But with all of this fighting and with the Fourth Crusade directly attacking them, it just made the situation worse. The interactions that happened during the Crusade did lead to one good thing, and that's increased trade networks between Christian Europe and Muslim Western Asia. The Reconquista is another result. King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella of Spain wanted to create a Christian kingdom, a Christian Spain. Spain at this point was split in half. The northern half was Christian and the southern half was Muslim. They attempted to drive all of the Muslims out of southern Spain. The Inquisition was a court set up to accuse people of heresy. Heresy is any belief that goes against the Catholic Church. This was the engine that drove the Reconquista. Isabella targeted the Jews and Muslims in Spain. So after their army conquered southern Spain, they set up the Inquisition. The Inquisition was meant to root out the people that were still remaining, who had stayed behind. So they would burn these people alive if they did not agree to convert to Christianity. And sometimes, even for the Jews and Muslims that did convert to Christianity, they would still be burned alive because people might not believe them. More than the effects of the Inquisition, more than 150,000 people fled Spain in fear. Many more, or not many more, but very many people were murdered by the Inquisition outright. So in reality, the people lost by Spain was much more than 150,000. Religious unity was achieved in Spain, but at an enormous cost in human life. Spain's economy suffered from the loss of many skilled jobs, or loss of many skilled and educated people.